What's up, y'all? Hey, I am back in Ohio and hanging out in Cleveland, Ohio for the summer. So packed up the wife and kids, got up here earlier this week, been visiting with the team and hanging out and doing a bunch of cool stuff in Cleveland. So it's definitely a little bit chillier here than in South Carolina and in Florida. But Mark got up here about a week before me, and he summers up here as well. I think we're probably the only two people who summer in Cleveland, Ohio. But I was, obviously me and Mark are great buddies. We've been in the mastermind, or I've been in his mastermind since 2015. And looking at getting some Taylor Swift tickets for Chicago tomorrow for me and Penelope. And don't tell her though. It's secret. So anyways, was matching up with Mark. We decided to come over. I came out to his house, check out what he's got going on. We were just talking about the market, and I was like, dude, let's talk. Let's go live. Let's answer some questions or talk about the market. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about kind of what's working, what's not working. There's a lot of delusional people out there right now who are like, well, I don't understand why things are harder, or why things are, or like, what's going on? Well, dude, you got to pivot, right? You got to evolve as these markets change, and so that's what we're. So I thought, hey, get Mark on and let's talk a little bit about this. You know, I just saw a graph that I just showed you about the market, and it says technically the bear market that we were in lasted the past 9 months, is the shortest bear market in the past, I think, 80 or 100 years. Mm-hmm. And it's saying that we're now in technically a bull market again, because stocks and everything have jumped back up since October of last year, 20%. So since the bottom, they've gone back up 20%. Really, that has been led by like 8 companies, the Alphabets, the Apples, the Teslas, the Microsoft, and like all the big tech, Facebook, Meta, and all the big tech companies. And it's kind of dragged some of the other ones up too. Are you seeing in the market that boom again, or are you seeing like things are pretty steady, or like what are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think at the end of the day, it's a great transfer of wealth. So I think there's always the people, here, one thing that's interesting about money's never lost, it's transferred. Right, so just because it's not in your bank account, it's in someone else's bank account, and so it's not lost, it's just moved. And I think what's happening is they're starting to get smarter with the money. I think there's a lot of inflation in the money. I think it's interesting these kind of information's coming out during the season we're in, because I don't necessarily believe it 100%. I think people have the capital. I think they're playing a little bit different game. They're playing a little bit smarter, not moving as quick, trying to slow down the pace, which we've done ourselves as well, and just be more conscious about capital.
Yep. I think here's what I have found. I've closed on a couple of deals in the past 30 days, and I was talking with the largest title attorney that does closings in South Carolina. They do more closings than anybody else in South Carolina. And I just closed a deal with them, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, last week maybe it was. And as I'm signing, I'm like, dude, how's business? You guys staying busy? Just making small talk, but actually inquiring, like, what are they seeing right now as far as transactions and closings? He's like, dude, things have picked up big time in the past 30 days. And our closing volume is up massively over the past 30 days. And I can tell you firsthand, dude, I'm getting phone calls on my apartment buildings every single day. Phone calls, emails, text messages.
To acquire?
Of people who want to acquire. Now, it could be brokers who don't have listings that are just saying that they have a buyer in order to try to get the listing, which, that's par for the course with these brokers. But it seems like there's a lot, and there's a lot of people, individuals that have reached out and said, hey, I'm interested. And we've gotten offers through our brokers on a bunch of different properties as well. So it seems like the scare that was in the market, I don't think that money, I think people just kind of tightened up with their money. And I think they kind of held it a little bit tighter to their hip. And then as soon as that scare and the interest rates and stuff kind of relaxed, and then obviously they didn't raise interest rates 2 days ago. So, but they say that there's going to be probably 2 more this year, but we'll see. When all that stuff occurred, I don't know, people just, all right, hey, things calm down. It's not as scary as when the interest rates were going crazy, and now the money it's just sitting on the sidelines. People know that they're not making any money and inflation's still bananas.
Yep.
And they're looking to deploy it into different deals,
What's always funny about that, especially in real estate, everyone knows real estate's the best inflation hedge.
Yeah.
And when shit hits the fan, they stop buying real estate for a minute.
Right.
It makes zero sense.
Right.
Because they're going to come back, and guess what? When they come back, the real estate's going to be worth more.
Yep.
It's going to cost more. And by the time they make the decision, so real people in the game is continuously to buy. Create a plan, execute the plan. Not to say you shouldn't pivot and move around, but like when inflation's pushing up, go where the best inflation hedge is, which is real estate. So it's been interesting to watch what's happening. It's not like '08.
Yep.
It's way different, way different. That was a different crisis. This is different now.
Yep. No, I think, and we've talked about it. It's like, dude, consistent deals over time is where the real wealth is built. It's not in just doing a deal, trying to hit a home run, and then being set for forever. It's in consistently doing deals. And the guys that have been in the business for a long time are always doing deals, whether the market's up, the market's down, the market's sideways. Nobody gives a shit because they're just consistently trying to hit base hits and knowing that they're going to keep knocking runners in from just base hit after base hit after base hit, and that's how ball games are won. Yeah. And that's the difference, right? Like, I'm still doing deals. I'm still being aware of things. Maybe there's a different type of deal that I'm doing. I'm not doing the heavy value adds because labor market's still kind of weird.
Yep.
The supply chain's still a little bit weird. Financing on those heavier value adds and new construction is a little bit harder to come by. And so I'm looking at the variables that play into each of the different deals and figuring out what's the path of least resistance for me to continue buying good properties in good areas with good financing, or create that financing with creative financing. That's a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about with my crew too.
But what we're really talking about is awareness.
Yeah.
Right? You're in the marketplace, you're still doing real estate. Hey, I'm being aware, okay, maybe I should slow down on hard value adds. Why? Not just because it's harder, but because, the money's harder. The people are harder to find. There's and none of that, let's go to path of least resistance. And then what's interesting too is in real estate, if you're not doing a deal in real estate, you're not making money. Yeah. Like, that's just the game we're in. So it's a transactional growth game. And another cool thing is too, what I love about what's happened in the last 9 to 12 months is sorting out of the weak people.
Yep.
Weak-minded,
Dude,
emotionally,
so
mentally,
much of that.
Financially. Everyone literally, as Bobby would always say, Stevie Wonder could have, saw the opportunities back then. It was so easy to do a deal. There was so much money just flowing, so loosely. And now everything's tightened up. But now what we're doing is just getting back to the basics and just keeping it simple with good people. And if everyone can maintain and sustain where they're at today and grow, dude, the next 2 years are going to be absolutely amazing for them.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it in the real estate industry. It was really easy to make money, and then as soon as things got a little bit tight, it trimmed so much fat out of it. And so the competition, right, for acquisitions has come down considerably, and a lot of people have been just kind of went back to whatever that they were doing or whatever that looks like. What have you seen in the business world, right? I know you guys are always looking at businesses and acquiring businesses and scaling businesses. More opportunity, less opportunity, same amount of opportunity?
Yeah, no, listen, I think there's tons of opportunity. I think what happened with what I'm seeing in a lot of businesses, the business guys, because it was so easy to do real estate and they were just they had FOMO. Yeah. So they got over leveraged in certain real estate transactions. And now they're looking at like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And now they're looking for the path of least resistance to capture some revenue or cash. Yeah. Therefore, they're selling their companies. Yeah. And not only that, if they're, here's the thing is too, in good markets, operations are easy. It's easy to make money. It's easy to find people. Everyone's everywhere, wants to work. And when they started pumping all this cash into the marketplace, they were actually making people lazy and, pushing up a $15 an hour person up to $25 an hour. And if your margins, that's the biggest thing. If anybody learns anything from us today, the biggest thing everyone needs to do is immediately raise their prices in their business. Immediately. 10%, 20%, 50%, maybe even 100%. Because it's a perfect timing opportunity to do it because you can use the market for the reason. Yeah. You can call your team. If you haven't raised your prices in the last 12 months, you're going to make millions of dollars extra over the lifetime of your business if you just raise it today.
Yeah.
Because the market is allowing you to. Inflation, like you just said, supply chain, cost of goods, cost of people, all these things are real hard costs, and you can use that as your excuse, calling your people and say, hey, just don't believe me. Every job you go to, if you're going to jobs and bidding out, just add 10%. Next job, add another 10%.
Yep.
After that, another 10%. Just see what resistance you're going to get.
People are expecting it right now.
Yeah,
you know?
it's normalized. It's been normalized. Shit, dude, you can't go anywhere without trying to get a tip.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a tip now.
Yeah.
Why? Because they want more money, and they're charging you more, and they want more for a tip. Like, it's just that's the world we live in now.
Dude, I did notice that, like, all the digital payment things, right? It's like, you go somewhere, and it's like, oh yeah, can you sign this? And it's like, do you want to add a tip for something that never got tips in the past?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you almost feel obligated. You're like, shit, yeah, let me add 15% on top of, whatever the hell it is.
It's peer pressure, dude.
It is.
They're
Very
looking
much
at you,
so.
and they're like,
very
like
much so. And but it's interesting, like, and people are expecting prices to go up. One thing you did mention before that I think is really, really important is the business owners that are selling their business and they bought real estate and they thought it was more liquid or whatever. Like, real estate builds long-term wealth, but and that's regardless of what the industry is, regardless of what the asset is, you need something that produces cash today, and you need something that's going to build long-term wealth.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, right? There's a lot of different things that can fall into both of those categories, but you need both, right? How many people do we know that have cash flow businesses and they can make cash today, but they don't have big balance sheets because they don't have long-term wealth and equity in deals or other businesses and things like that. And at the same time, there's a lot of real estate investors, right? Me for a long time, who had these big portfolios or had assets, but didn't have the cash, right? If things got tight, like, oh shit, what do I do in order to get a chunk of cash? Like, how do I make $100,000 this month, right? In order to make sure that I can keep things afloat? Or how do I make $500,000 in the next 30, 45 days to make sure I can keep things? You can't, it's a lot harder to do that in real estate, unless you've got some equity and you can sell some equity. You can get creative on that side of things.
You have to be deep in the game
but
to
you
do
need
that.
both, dude.
Yeah.
You need to be deep in the game. One, you have to have lower loan to values. You have to know enough people who are willing to come in a little bit later. There's a lot of variables that come into that, but you need something that produces fast money, and you need something that builds long-term wealth, and that's how you win this game of personal finance, right?
You can add one extra layer into that too, because wholesaling real estate, single-family apartments, it doesn't matter. That would be a cash generator, right?
Right.
You're in transaction mode, making cash, put the long-term wealth. That's cool. That's two ways that works. But if you have like a real business, not only are you creating cash flow, but you're creating enterprise value for future growth, future sell. You build it really hard. You work. You're going to work hard no matter what. We're all hard workers. But are you going to work hard to make cash flow and enterprise value, or just cash flow and long-term wealth?
Yeah.
You can do all three.
Yep.
Which is cool. So just be conscious of where you're putting all your efforts and energies and what you're bringing to the market.
Yeah, man. Now I think the enterprise value conversation is like, what am I building, and am I building it for a future exit and enterprise value?
Yep.
That's been a conversation considerably over the past, probably 12, 18 months that we've been having a lot.
Yep. Because I messed it up for years, dude.
Right.
I've messed it up for
It was
a long
all
time.
just based on cash flow and stocking cash and then putting cash into different deals. And now it's like, no, let's enter this deal knowing what the exit strategy is going to be, knowing what the game plan is 5 years from now, 10 years, it might be 30 years from now, but like, let's build it. And when you go in with that kind of a mindset, you're thinking about the deal very differently, because you're like, hey, it's not going to be me and just generating cash flow from me working a high-paying job, right? Now I got to put people in place. I need certain processes. I need certain software. I need certain systems in place, checklists, whatever that looks like, in order to systematize this thing.
Yep.
So that way, some hedge fund does want to bring cash in and write a big check in order to let you exit, right?
Yep.
Like, that's how the best entrepreneurs do it. They go and build a business for 3 to 5 years. They exit it. Usually they stay on for another year or two, staying in that. And maybe they'll exit a portion of their business, and then they get bought out on the rest of it within a couple of years. Or they'll leave, and then they'll go start another business, and then they get paid out in increments, which is how some of the best business owners that I know have done it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think, we all, another thing too, because people are like chasing a lot of rabbits right now. It does, if you're building on enterprise value, you would never buy an apartment building and not have a plan of what to do with the apartment building.
Yeah.
Many people start businesses with no plan of what to do with it when they exit. There's only 3 ways to exit a business: sell it, give it away, or shut it down.
Yep.
That's it. There's no other way. So if you're going in there, you have a plan, you just might not know the plan.
Yep.
So why are you going to buy it? Why are you going to bring $10 million to an apartment building and not have a plan of, hey, I'm going to make this better, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z? Spend some time on your business and say, what vertical integration opportunities, where can I add to this? How can I professionalize it? Who can I bring on to help me grow this company? Maybe an SVP or maybe a COO, or there are lots of people, there are a lot of cool opportunities there. And then it's like, okay, what's the multiplier when I go to sell?
Yep.
What's the timeline? Because it might be like $1 million EBITDA could get you 5X, but if you got the $5 million EBITDA, you might get a 12X.
Yep.
But you got to ask yourself, am I willing to go from 1 to 5 million? Because that's where all the hard work's at. Mm-hmm. Hard work's up to $1 million, and then 1 to 5 is a whole nother hard work situation.
But then you get past that $5-7 million mark, and now you're like, oh shit, it's actually easier to build that business,
way easier.
Right? It's easier to scale from there. As soon as you get out of that hell zone of $1 to $5 million, because you've got something. You've got something that can generate revenue, that there's some substance behind this business, but it's not making enough money to then be able to pay for C-level executives and really invest in the business and pour money on, fuel on the fire for marketing, and hire the people that you want to hire, build a bigger office out and things like that. So you got to figure out a way, how do you consolidate that hell zone of 1 to 5 million in order to get beyond there?
Yeah, I think though, you got to. My main point is you got to be committed.
Yeah.
Because if you're not committed where you're really going, you're going to burn out and quit.
Yep.
You're just going to tap out. You're going to be like, dude. Remember, like in real estate, when you started doing deals and you start hiring people, like, dude, I could do this myself and make more money.
Yep.
There is that point when you start hiring people, you're actually going to make less. So you better be, tied into that vision. If not, it's going to suck.
Dude. I was thinking about this on the drive over here of like, how we go to all these different events and what we invest in these different deals, and like in 2015 when I first joined your mastermind, I always looked at it as an expense, right? As a cost and something like, oh, this is costing me money. And the reality is, obviously, you call it an investment, right? Because you see an ROI on it.
Sure.
And I started pivoting my thinking to saying, how many deals do I need to do in order to pay for this, right? Like $1,500 when your mastermind started, it was $30,000. I remember thinking like, well, how many real estate deals do I have to do? I have to do like an extra, at the time, like, I don't know, let's call it 3 deals, because I was doing shitty little deals in Cleveland, Ohio. If I did an extra 3 deals this year, could I pay for this mastermind? And the reality is, I did an extra 100 deals that year from joining the mastermind, from getting plugged into the conversations, getting plugged into the people and the knowledge and the insights, and learning from other people's losses and wins, right? And consolidating the timeline because of that. And so that's how I always think about stuff like this. I always think like, oh, well, hey, should I pay this person $50,000 for a 1-day consult? Well, how many deals do I have to do? The reality is the industry that we're in, being in business, being able to buy and sell businesses, being in real estate, especially commercial real estate, where you're talking about big dollar amounts, it's de minimis, right? It's inconsequential money, even to spend $50,000 or $100,000 on a type of consulting that can help you do an extra deal a year, right? Because you're paying one time to pay $100,000 or $50,000. But you can do an extra 1 deal a year, and hopefully you've got an extra 40, 50 years ahead of you, and you're making that back, right? Many, many times. And so I think about it that way. I don't think that it's an expense. I think and I'm thinking about making more money. It doesn't even talk about how we're saving money, right? Costs from losses, from kicked in the nuts over and over and over again in business, and the time savings as well of, again, consolidating that.
Because you're not investing in me, you're investing in yourself. And my job is to put great people in a room. It's not a pitch fest. We're not selling anything.
There's nothing for sale.
Yeah. So it's like, as our whole theme is you're only one person, one relationship away from changing your life, one deal. Yeah. One conversation, one action. Remember when, like you said, you had to have a couple cocktails before you made the first investment at New Year's. And then you came in and then boom, had to make another. These are decisions. And depending where you're at in your journey, just look where you're at. If that's where you want to be, keep doing what you're doing. It's working. But people that we roll with, we're constantly growing. Dude, I paid a guy $1,800 for an hour today. Let's talk to you about that. So $1,800 for 1 hour to give me some insights on hiring an individual.
What's the ROI going to be on that, dude?
Dude, it's going to be many millions of dollars we'll make. Yeah. And it won't come tomorrow. It's not like that. I'm not expecting that, and nor should anybody. I think that's another thing. Hey, I give you $1,500. What do I get? well, you're going to get insight and knowledge. Now what you do with it is up to you.
Yep.
You know, because I listen, this guy gave me a lot of great insights. If I don't do anything with it, he's still got paid.
Yep.
You know, just like your job. If you work at a job, you know, you went and did your job, you got paid. If the company loses money, you still got paid.
Yep.
So you got to realize, like, you know, you're investing in yourself. I would make it a game to be like, how do I invest? You know, if you've never invested money in yourself, start, and then start. Okay, how can I add 20 to invest 20 grand a year in yourself is nothing with the opportunities out there. I mean, you can go online and hire great people, but this room will be amazing. No selling, just great high quality people.
There was a study that just came out, right? And it was like a big deal. And the question of the study was, how do I change my luck? All right? How do I change my luck? How does one person change their luck? And they analyzed all different aspects of people's lives. They looked at everything you could possibly imagine under the sun, and they kind of whittled it down into one thing that changes your luck. Only one thing. You know what it was?
Decisions.
Who you put yourself, who you surround yourself with. It's that decision.
I believe it.
The decision of who you surround yourself with changes your luck. Because if you go put yourself in a room of 250 millionaires and aspiring millionaires, or decamillionaires, or centimillionaires, and billionaires
that are all investing to be there.
So now there's a level of confidence, right, in them where they believe in themselves. Can you imagine being in a room of 250 people who all believe in themselves, right?
Yeah.
That all want more out of life, want to have more, want to give more, want to be more, want to do more, but if you change that, if you put yourself in that room, you're gonna accidentally fall into deals. You're going to accidentally fall into raising private money. You're going to accidentally fall into new opportunities, joint venture partnerships, or just great relationships, great people to hang out with. And it might be something not quantifiable. It might be something that's like, hey, I got a great takeaway on my health from this person. I got a great takeaway on my relationship from this person. How to be a better spouse, how to be a better parent, right? And there's these little things that I get takeaways from at these events that aren't always business, but it legitimately changes it. And you think of like, hey, if I go hang out with a bunch of people who eat French fries, chances are I'm going to eat a French fry every once in a while. If I hang out with a bunch of people who eat salads or apples a day, chances are I'm going to eat more salads and apples. And it's not sometimes a conscious decision. It's just, I don't know, putting yourself in the room of people who are making those decisions also. And by putting yourself in that room, you change your luck. Scientific study. Spent millions and millions of dollars on it at these universities, and it came back with change who you hang out with. That's how you change your luck. So you got to be plugging into circles like these, right? Hopefully you have a local circle. If you don't, create one. Hopefully there's a regional or a national type of a circle of entrepreneurs and people that you can put yourself around, and make sure that you're plugging into this stuff, right? There's always going to be great takeaways. Sometimes there's great one-off events that you can plug into. And then I would find some organizations that you can stay with and grow with long term. Yeah. I've been paying Mark since 2015. It's 8 years. Yeah. 8 years. I think I actually owe you some money too for this year. So I'm about to make my 9th payment to him for being in his mastermind, right? Why? Do you think I didn't get a lot of insights? I got so many insights over the first many years. Could I have been like, hey, I got everything and I'm going to run and jump and do my own thing now? Yeah, but I'm not into it for just the transactional knowledge. I'm into it for the relationship growth, right? And the long-term benefits of being able to roll together with rock stars and everybody else who's growing their business too, right? You join an organization, there might not have been many people who had 8-figure, 9-figure businesses when I got started in the DM fam or in legacy family, right? People had dozens of units instead of now. People have 8-figure businesses, 9-figure businesses. People own hundreds of units or thousands of units. And guess what happens to your luck, right? When you hang out for another 5 years or another 10 years. Dude, now that you're hanging out on everybody's yachts, right? And you're like, hey, who's got the bigger yacht? And you're playing dick measuring contests, right? With yachts and jets. And like, why would you want to burn that relationship because you got to the $1 million mark, or you got to the multiple 7-figure mark, or you got to the 8-figure? Like, dude, can you imagine continuing to roll with everybody? There's a lot of runway that all of us have because we're all so young and we all have a lot of business acumen, and hopefully we all live to 100, 120 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, think about what you've done in business in 25 years and what that's going to look like in the next 25 years. All of it just compounds. And imagine doing that with 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people that you continue rolling with. Like, that's the power of putting yourself in the right room. So if you're not coming out to Mark's, do you have like a website or something? I don't even know.
You'll put the link in the thing. We'll give you the link.
We'll drop the link
in the comment section. But back to your point real quick. We all know this. You know, in high school, remember, if you hang out with the druggies, you're a druggie. Even if you don't do drugs, you are guilty by association.
Perceived as a drug addict.
And you're always wondering why the cops pick you up. Because you have a 420 sticker on the back of your bumper.
Yeah.
You know, like, I wonder why. You know, you're like Busch Light beer on the back of your thing. Like, why are they picking on me? Well, you've created this environment, these situations to have the wrong eyes on you. Get in rooms where people want to see you succeed. One reason I think most people don't come to events like this is because they come to the room thinking, oh, this guy's above me, he's going to talk down to me. There's nobody we know that talks down to anybody.
Nobody.
We're like, dude, you're doing what? Because we've been there. We want to help you accelerate your growth. Because we get joy out of that.
Dude, there's so much support, right? There's so much warmth. There's so much like, how do I help? Dude, I've been there, man. I know how fucking painful it was. Yeah. Here's exactly the path that worked for me. Yeah. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I know you're going to think that those are good. No, dude, you go this path, boom. And like everybody wants to support. Everybody wants that. For that, and even if it's out of self-interest of like, dude, I hope this person goes and makes $15 million on this next deal, because then maybe they want to go and reinvest, or maybe we can partner up, maybe we can joint venture, maybe there's other opportunities, and they loop me in. Maybe they write my name as a thank you in the book that they wrote about their autobiography of how they made $100 million or $1 billion, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff that gets us. Like, dude, we don't need more money. We don't need more vehicles. We don't need cooler houses. Like, we get the fulfillment by helping other people, by paying it forward. Because I remember how painful it was when I was going through that. I remember getting kicked in the nuts over and over and over and over and over again, and just being like, oh man, I just get taking arrows over and over and over. And then finally, somebody was willing to help me. Somebody was willing to give me insight. Somebody was willing to believe in me. And like, that's what this room is, right? Like, that's the kind of guy that Mark is. And that's the kind of people that he attracts. And those are the people that are going to be in the room June 29, 30.
But, you know, at the end of the day, though, you had to make a decision to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I think you got to get to the point where you realize you can't do it on your own. If you can, why aren't you? You know, and not only that, even if you are, you even realize, why are you working harder than you have to?
Yep.
You know, like, maybe someone's like one call away to solve your problem. In our world, we're trying to solve problems every day. Like, and the problem is, like, a lot of people, like, our goal is to help you solve your problem and help you get new problems so we can help you solve those problems. And then, even if it's not us being able to solve it, maybe Tim has had that problem. Hey, you don't know this guy, you should know Tim. Tim know this guy. But like, and then all of a sudden you're accelerating your solve. We all have problems. How long are you dealing with them?
Yep.
Who's helping you solve them?
Yep.
Who are you talking to? Like,
yep.
You know, most people are talking to themselves. If you knew how to solve it, it'd have been solved. You know,
dude. Like, and that's the thing. It's like the developing that muscle of resourcefulness of how to overcome problems. Right? Hey, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the relationships. Well, dude, if you're resourceful, you can find the time. You can find the money. You can find the relationships. You can find the knowledge. And that's what these rooms do. They like the relationship capital, the expedition of time, of how it compresses time. There are no shortcuts other than what I've found, which is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, is like being in these rooms.
It's the ultimate shortcut.
It is the ultimate shortcut, because you think about a guy like Mark, right? I remember this early on in 2000. This must have been 16. Yeah, it must have been 16. It might have been. Yeah, it was 15 or 16. Anyways. I had known Mark for maybe a year, let's call it, okay? Had been in his mastermind for a year. There were guys that he had known for a decade prior that were lending him private money. He then makes an introduction for me to be able to borrow private money from these couple of hard money investors. They would never have invested with me if they didn't already invested with Mark, which took him 10 years of time to develop that relationship. And he was able to expedite a 10-year timeline for me with a single phone call. And these guys started putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars. And one guy has put up probably $5 or $6 million and continuously rolled it with me over and over, even after I pay him back on these deals, over and over and over again for the past almost 8 or 9 years, I guess.
Wow, yeah.
And so that's a very real world example of how you expedite timelines, right? Not just the knowledge, not just the experience of what to do, what not to do, but it's real relationships. How many bad and shitty real estate insurance agents do you think I've gone through, right? Like a lot of them. How many bad CPAs do you think I've had? Many. And I've gone through all the bad ones, and now I found the best ones, right? And then when you start rubbing elbows with guys like Mark, guys like me, then all of a sudden you get access to their types of contacts and their power team, and you're able to expedite and get to the best insurance agents, get to the best CPAs, get to the best private money lenders, and all those individuals by showing that you're making a commitment to yourself. But that's the differentiator too. It's like there's a lot of people that we want to help, which is why we do Facebook Lives for free, right? That's why we put up so much social media content, because it's free and anybody can access it. Mm-hmm. If you want, it's like we need to figure out how to differentiate who we spend one-on-one time with, and the easiest is like people who pay to play, right? The reason that we do pay to play is because if you pay, one, you pay attention. Two, you have a level of confidence in yourself where you know you can get a return on investment, right? And three, what would I say three would be? You're making the commitment where you want to see a return on investment. So I know you're going to put it to work, right? So not only are you putting the money up, but you want, like I remember when I spent $30,000 for your mastermind, I was like, how do I get this money back? And I was
changes that.
Right. As opposed to you giving me the information for free, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, hey, maybe I'll implement it, maybe I won't. But like I was determined to get a return on my investment when I invested with you. So just powerful stuff, guys. Just make sure that you're putting yourself in the right rooms. And I know that this is something that, oh, hey, the interest rates are up or the economy is shaking a little bit, and maybe I'm going to try to tighten up. Like, there's a couple of things I'm not tightening up on. One is my own education, right? And investment in myself. Two is investment in relationships, which can go into the education side and can go into developing team members, employees, staff, hiring people who are A players, who don't have opportunities in other ventures or other businesses, other corporations that they're working in right now. There's gonna be a lot of talent that you can pick up. And then the other one's marketing, right? Making sure that you're pouring money into good marketing and seeing a return on investment. Like, those are the three things that have an ROI in business: your own education, people, and marketing. Those three things are what I'm always spending more money on, and I know I'm gonna make more money if I spend. Everything else is an expense, right? But those three things are assets.
Yeah, most people will make an excuse of why they can't come. You got to realize that the market's always moving. Things are always happening. We all have life going on, but you need, again, it's like if life's working for you, keep doing it. Why would you ever want to be in a room with people that I always talk about this, like these free rooms.
Yep. I'm
like, dude, like these free rooms, like they're not free. People have to make money. Like there's hard costs. If you don't have to believe me, go host an event. Go host an event anywhere. You're gonna have your time. By the way, your time's worth something. You're gonna have the staff. You're gonna have the food. You're gonna have the drinks. You're gonna have it's very expensive to put on these events. I mean, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So, it's a separator. You should want to be in rooms where you're paying more because the quality is going to be bigger. You're going to be rolling with people that value their time, value their money, value their experiences. And that's why we get results too, because we put ourselves in the best environments to give us the biggest results. That's what it works.
You got to be getting yourselves, changing your luck, right? Change your luck by changing who you hang out with, and make sure that now's the time to stay in these rooms the most, because as things change, as things evolve, as you need to pivot, this is where those conversations happen faster, right? If you have to wait for the market and you have to respond and react, that's a secondary thing, right? Versus people who are proactive, or people who are creating the markets, people who are driving forward. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I know I can watch that person and get their insights because they're going in one direction. I'm going to try something else. Somebody else try, and you get the insights, and boom, somebody just hit something that works. We can all now move in that direction. And if you're not in these circles, you don't know about that stuff.
No, they got to plant the seed. This is the time. This is planting the seed season, and you will harvest greatly if you go to events like this. 100%.
I'm excited. I'm excited for I like the market getting shaken up. I like things getting not easy. I like, because we thrive in solving problems. And dude, I got involved in real estate in 2000, as a broker and an intern, and had a painting company 2005 to about 2009. 2009 I became an investor. It was never easy, dude. I never had a good market. Everything was always difficult.
Right.
So that's what my perspective is always on. It's like, like the market that's been awesome for the past few years.
Yep.
I saw it as a fluke, right? I didn't think that this was a normal market. I saw it as a fluke of like, hey, we're getting lucky, right? Like, hey, great, keep things moving forward, pour fuel on the fire. But the reality is, I expected things to be much, much, much more difficult, because that's the environment that we thrive in. And so if you're not hanging out with people who are making an impact, who are making a difference, who are charging forward, and not scared of a mixed up economy or a mixed up market, you're in the wrong rooms. You need to be hanging out with people who see this as an opportunity, not as an obstacle.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Hope to see you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll post the link. And if you guys are up in Cleveland, hit us up. We're around all summer. But appreciate you guys. Have a great summer.